Hello, and you're all very welcome along to another episode of the Gaelic Statsman Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Hurley, and in today's show, we have a new guest. Let's just say we had him during the league, but he's back again now, John McMahon from the JMac Podcast, to discuss this weekend's action. Obviously, the All-Ireland football semi-finals this weekend, Dublin and Monaghan on Saturday, obviously Kerry and Derry on Sunday. We also have the Tailteann Cup final between Down and Meath, and a few ladies football. We'll delve into that too, and a bit of GA news stories in the week as well. So, John, my man, how are things up the county of Cavan after an exit for the Tailteann Cup? But at the same time, some good, exciting action to happen this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. It's great to be on the show once again, my man. It's Thursday. We're looking forward to the weekend, and we cannot wait to get the show on the road for the weekend. And absolutely, yeah, he hasn't been on since the league, so God, I hope I wasn't barred since that, and maybe my appearance that time didn't impress you. So, but no, all joking aside, no, it's great to be on, my man, and I look forward to this weekend. I look forward to talking about all the action, all the news, and all the events. Obviously, you were on my podcast this week, and it went down really well, and obviously getting great feedback to it. So, looking to chatting to you tonight, my man.
Absolutely, and excited to get into the action all right this weekend. But before we get into the action, as always on the podcast, we start off with the week in the GA, and we start off with usually some controversial news stories in general, but we'll start off with a bit of a light-hearted one. Well, it's still a sad news story for Cavan GA, and as we have a Cavan guy in the podcast here, we'll start off with Mickey Graham stepping down as Cavan senior football manager after it's around 5 seasons in charge. Started off in 2019, got to an Ulster final in 19, obviously won that historic Ulster Championship in 2020, got to a Tailteann Cup final. Mickey's done an unbelievable job with Cavan, and it's time to say goodbye, really. So, Mickey Graham leaving Cavan, what's your general feelings, John? Are you happy about that? Are you kind of sad, or are you kind of thinking, look, it was the end of the road after 5 amazing years?
Yeah, I suppose there's obviously a lot of kind of conversation since the news broke on Monday night there. But look, I think I think the general consensus was that I think 5 years probably was enough at that time. So as Mickey would be very honest, I think he said an off the ball there during the week that I suppose any manager the last 5 years is quite impressive in this day and age, because like some managers only last a year or two. So I think Mickey to do 5 very good years, definitely the best way you can describe it, was very up and down, literally. But he did get us back up to Division 2 football, as me and you were talking about it during the week. So no, we could definitely reflect on very positive spell with Cavan, with Mickey Graham's tenure. Like, we'll always remember 2020 when he did bring home the Anglo-Celt Cup and win the first Ulster title in 20 odd years. That was amazing scenes, especially during COVID, when everyone around Ireland, but it definitely gave Cavan a serious lift. And then obviously, I suppose we a few relegations since that, and then we got back up, and it was very, very much like a yo-yo to a degree. But he, I suppose he got the best way. I was kind of maybe saying to a few people during the week that he probably got us into a mess, but then he's got us out of the mess once again. I think he kind of wanted to leave on them terms and circumstances, because obviously going down to Division 4, and then we're back in Division 2, so we're kind of back where we belong, really. But no, I think the general consensus seems to be, I think, 5 years. I know he got a 2-year contract last year, but I think he just said the year seemed like it was enough for him personally. And look, we can only thank Mickey. I think he's got a lot of compliments online. All the kind of comments and feedback I've really seen about Mickey throughout the week has been very, very, very positive, and a lot of people have just reflected positively with it. And I suppose we can only thank him. The Ulster title was great. We got a few National League titles in between that, Division 4, Division 3. So look at Mickey. I can't see him being stuck for too long for work. There's word on the street that I think he's doing a bit of work with the Ballinamore footballers. I think he might be training them now, so for the foreseeable. So Mickey, he will definitely not be stuck for any work, I suppose, now in the not too distant future. So we can only wish him well.
Yeah, exactly. He's been an unbelievable manager for Cavan, winning that Ulster title. I'd imagine it has been brilliant for a Cavan fan, obviously reaching the Ulster final. And without the Thomas Galligan sending off in the Tailteann Cup, maybe Cavan could have even won that game. But one more question before we close on Mickey Graham. There's rumours actually he'll go up to Donegal as manager. Obviously, Aidan O'Rourke left in the last few weeks. Would he be a good fit for Donegal, do you think? Donegal now Division 2 next season. So would Mickey Graham be suited to that job?
Yeah, like it's definitely a very interesting role up there, and I suppose we've kind of touched on like my own podcast, and we were kind of thinking that the Donegal job is quite exciting. I know there obviously has been a lot of turmoil up there from off the field, on the field, and I suppose the whole county's been very, very, very badly hit. But I think there can, like, Mickey would be the very man to rejuvenate things up there. And I know obviously people will be saying and putting up tweets and, you know, where to for Mickey next, and county wise, the Donegal, it probably would suit Mickey down to the ground. Donegal would probably be a nice spin from Cavan, but you know, look, if he was going to go there, like, I suppose it's completely up to him. But I did see a couple of tweets, and I know that probably would be a natural step for Mickey. But it will be very, very interesting to see where he goes next. Like, does he just do a bit of club management? Does he help out with clubs? Does he just maybe take the year out next year? I'm not too sure. Like, he did say during the week that he has a bit of an addiction to it, and he would like to get straight back in, because he did say, like, if he felt he missed out on a bit of coaching or a bit of management these days, that he'd feel like he's missing out. So I can't see him being stuck or idle for too long, to be fair. Mickey wouldn't be like that. But I think it will be very interesting. Is it going to be Donegal? Oh, I'm not too sure. Like, I know Aidan O'Rourke left there a few weeks ago. Aidan didn't fancy it. Donegal, you'd be a brave man to take it on, but I suppose no better man than Mickey to go for it. But yeah, as I said a couple of minutes ago, it will be very interesting to see Mickey's next steps, what he does now in the next year or so.
Yeah, exactly. And I think everybody will be in the queue to get Mickey Graham a job. As you mentioned there, he's going to a club team now. So best of luck to Mickey in the future, definitely. And we'll talk about two more issues. One issue I discussed actually with Seamus last week on the podcast. Check that out if you haven't already. And it's reverberated again. Last week, Monaghan and Armagh fans were fighting on the hill. There was a few arrests and things like that. And we were calling it, maybe it's a bit of pettiness. But last weekend, it took it to an all new level, really, with the Kilkenny and Clare game in the hurling championship. A young girl was seriously injured coming off the hill that day, and there's no talks of having fans at different sections of Hill 16, or even having just a section in Hill 16 and no more terraces in GAA games. So what do you think about this, John? We discussed this in depth on your podcast on last Tuesday night, and it went out during the week, obviously, but like, this is a big story in the GAA, and it's kind of sad, really, to see GAA fans kind of behaviour like this. And yeah, how can we stop it? Because it's a major, major problem.
Yeah, Matthew, you know, it absolutely is. And I know we kind of discussed in my own podcast during the week with Kev. And yeah, like, it's just not scenes you want to see. Like, anyone setting off for the day, going to Croke Park or going to any game, like Breffley Park, anywhere, Park Tailteann, absolutely anywhere, Park Equive, you want to go to a game. You want to be, I know, like, and some of the clips have been kind of shown that, like, it's been like maybe the younger generation, the younger people, and maybe they've had a few drinks, or maybe the drinks can't be handled, or whatever the situation would be. But you want to go to a game, you want to be safe at it. I know Hill 16 could be a bit of a minefield, but I did make the point to you and Kev during the week that there's enough security guards on Hill 16. Surely there's enough guards. So, like, I don't get me wrong, this shouldn't have happened in the first place, but you really have to wonder about maybe the security that's within Croke Park, what's really going on at a lot of these games. It's not good. It's not good. It's not a good look. You're seeing the videos online. The way everything's going these days, anything you do out of place is always going to be put up online. You have your Twitters, your Facebooks, your TikToks, your WhatsApp, absolutely everything. So it's not a good look. I think safety is absolutely priority watching. And then obviously I think we were hearing, like, a girl got badly injured there last week, and no one wants to hear that. And you know, what must the mom and dad be thinking this week? So safety is so important at all these games. You really have to think, like, yeah, I don't know, how could a result be going so bad that, you know, fans need to get in on top of each other and, you know, start throwing boxes or pushes or kicks, whatever it may be. So I just think Croke Park, or anywhere, any stage around Ireland, I think the security need to be so more switched on. If there's guards, they need to be on the case, because I'm amazed these two instances have happened with the amount of, you know, people we probably have at these games, protecting the people. But no, Matthew, it's definitely not a good look.
It isn't, no, and it's kind of the fear, actually, that I said this to Seamus, he kind of disagreed last week, that it's kind of turning into like a soccer culture in general, because you look at all the soccer fans, you know, fighting outside stadiums and things like that. Do you think it's kind of slowly turning into that with GAA at the moment? I know we don't want to see it in an amateur organisation, but do you think it's kind of heading that way, or am I just overreacting?
Yeah, no, it definitely seems like it. I think, like, the first instance we've seen was like the Monaghan and Armagh fans, and I know every supporters, all fans could be very, very different, but I think a lot of the young people might be getting on the buses, like, and we kind of have seen a lot of young people involved in these videos, and that's kind of what it's looking like these days. But think it was Colin Boyle was saying off the ball, I think it was Monday or Tuesday night, that maybe a lot of these young ones might be having cans of drink or whatever you're having yourself on the way up. So I think they might not be fit to handle a drink. They won't be getting very aggravated. So, and that kind of would lead on to that soccer culture. Like a lot of these people going to games maybe to fight other fans, to just get into the public eye. Well, it's a weird way, but get in the public eye with whatever you're having yourself, or just get involved in absolute nonsense. So you would like to see a bit of a kind of soccer culture kind of creeping in. And then again, like this weekend, what's to say it happens with Dublin, Kerry and Derry, and Dublin and Monaghan, and obviously down in Meath. So hopefully this weekend we'll have a safe weekend. Security's on point, guards are on point, but a soccer culture could well be creeping in, and a lot of supporters might be just going to take the head of someone or do whatever you have yourself. But it could literally be down to young people that shouldn't probably be drinking, can't handle a drink, and then bang, they start fighting each other.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully it'll improve this weekend. It should do anyway. There should be any fights whatsoever, whatever weekend it is. But hopefully the GA will clamp down on us in the next few weeks. And before we get into the game, so there's one final thing, and it's the United for Equality movement, as always, with the ladies football and the camogie. In previous weeks, obviously, they wore the United for Equality t-shirts in Croke Park last week, Kilkenny, Cork, Tipperary and Antrim. And even it went to the Oireachtas, I think it was Wednesday was Tuberty. I'm getting confused now. Thursday was the GA and GA Go. And Tom Ryan from the GA was actually asked about the United for Equality movement, and he was asked, should the GA be doing more? And he was saying, we're doing as much as we can. We're sharing the players' views and stuff like that. It's up to the LGFA and the camogie associations to merge together and to fight this thing together. But the Camogie Association have come out today, and basically they're not happy with the Gaelic Players Association and their handling of the situation, and there may be vilification of the Camogie Association and the LGFA Association, which is quite right in my eyes, because like the players' rights for ladies' games isn't right. And I've said this over the last few weeks, and kind of like a broken record saying it. I just want to get your thoughts on it, John. What do you think of it yourself? Do you think the girls are right to stand up for equality, or what do you think yourself?
Oh no, 100%. And I suppose, Matthew, we kind of have skin in the game up here. Like I was only talking to someone there a few weeks ago about this. Regarding the ladies' football within Cavan, and I know the news broke around, I think it was at the end of March, start of April, about expenses and general gear and players not getting very much. I hope there's a bit of an improvement now in recent weeks, recent months, there seems to be, but it's not a good look. Again, very much like our last kind of topic, we really need to kind of start sorting this. Like if there's players protesting, walking off to start of games, wearing t-shirts, putting up your tweets or talking in the media, it really isn't a good look. And I suppose I don't really understand, because the men's get everything. The men get everything they want. Like you can bet your bottom dollar, lady footballers are working and training as hard, if not harder, maybe, than some men. Like, God, I don't know how this. Like, we're 2023, Matthew. Like, I don't know how this isn't. We should be too far gone. We should be too far removed from all this, but it's still an issue. It's and you really have to say fair play to the girls. And like I know, obviously, the Cavan ladies have been very strong, I suppose, in their view since everything has happened, and they've been very kind of vocal, and absolutely they're right. Stand up for what you believe in. But I think it's something that needs to be badly addressed. It seems to just keep getting brushed under the carpet. And you see the men's games this weekend, like the promotion, the PR around it, and like they're being really well looked after. Why can't like the ladies footballers get that? The camogie players get that? To say, I know being used probably like we're giving them a dig out tonight, and obviously another podcast. Everyone else is trying their best, but it's the people at the top don't seem to really have their best interest at heart, unfortunately. But I don't know, my God, like it's the 21st century, and we're still talking about this. It's crazy stuff, Matthew.
It is really, and that Cavan, Dim Cavan protest actually happened in March as well, and we're into the middle of the summer, and it's still not being resolved. It's kind of unfair. And actually, another thing I wanted to add, the Camogie Association and the LGFA Association aren't going to take player interviews. The players are not going to do interviews with YouTube or anything like that. They are going to do it with RT and JGO and things like that, whoever streamed the games, TG Car for the ladies football, but they're not going to do it with the LGFA and the Camogie Association, which is probably the step in the right direction if they want United for Equality. But we will get into the games finally, after talking
after all that.
After all that, we'll talk about the games, and it is the first one, Dublin against Monaghan in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship semi-final on Saturday, 5:30 RTPM, RT2, and BBC Two Northern Ireland. So they're showing it for the second week in a row. And Thomas Liplock and the lads did a good job last weekend. I think they'll do a good job this weekend. Philly McMahon might be on as well. So they will do a good job, in fairness to them. But in terms of the game itself, like, it's an interesting game. Well, it's an interesting game in general because Monaghan are in an All-Ireland semi-final. Fair play to them for getting there for the first time since 2018. Tyrone beat them the last time out. But a comment has come in at the start of the show in regards to Monaghan, and it's kind of interesting. I think Monaghan have a better chance of an upset than Derry. Dublin have been woeful in their defensive systems all year. Derry, they don't have a chance of stopping Kerry. What do you think of that team? Monaghan have more of a chance of an upset against Dublin. We were talking about it off air. We thought Derry would, but look at that comment. Do you think otherwise?
Yeah, it's a very interesting one, and I know like a lot of the hype and like a lot of discussion and like talk going into this game is that, you know, Monaghan have had their number in like the league games and like the final day of leagues, but I think a big thing, you know, a lot of people have to start remembering is championship is a completely different situation to the league and everything. Like, this is Croke Park. You're talking 60,000-70,000 people in Croke Park this weekend for this game. It's a very, very different situation to an empty Croke Park in the middle of February. Very, like, even St. Tierna's Park, maybe it might have a good crowd, but it's a very different situation. So I don't think league form going into this bigger game, the Dubs, you know, over the years, did they really care about a lot of them league games? I don't think so. A lot of them games, the one of the canter really. But no, I think the tighter game of the two will be on Sunday. I think Kerry and Derry will be a lot tighter than this game, because I think the general consensus is Dublin probably should coast out for like a 7 or 8 point victory. Really, they should probably have too much from Monaghan. But it reverts, obviously, like back to that thing with Monaghan's never, like we said in the last podcast that you were on, I think Monaghan's never say die attitude, this relentless spirit that they have, the pick of players, like Marty Corey, Vinnie Corey, like so much quality there. But it probably, I think Sunday will be a good lot tighter, because obviously, like, we know the way Derry played to kind of suck the life out of teams. We'll touch on that game now in a few months, obviously. But no, I think Sunday will be a lot tighter than Saturday, I think.
Yeah, you'd be thinking that, all right, but you'll be hopeful for Monaghan. Even as a Cavan man yourself, you said off here before, Monaghan will put it to them. But we'll start off with Monaghan in general, their scores and stuff like that. Like Jack McCarron with 21 points as their top scorer. Conor McManus, will he start? Actually, we'll ask that. Will Conor McManus start this game? I kind of had my own view in your podcast the other night. What do you think? Do you think McManus will start?
Conor McManus, like, I think it's a very brave move by, I think, Vinnie Corey, Vinnie and Marty Corey, if he does start go with Conor McManus. Like, is this the game where Monaghan, you know, throw the absolute kitchen sink at it? As we're saying off air today, I think this could be I'd be very surprised now if the likes of the Hugheses and even Conor McManus himself, like, you know, it probably would be closing time with the zoo for a lot of them lads. So is this the game where Monaghan just say, right, let's throw the kitchen sink at it? It could well be. Does Conor McManus have 70 minutes in him these days? I'm not overly sure. We seen what he done against Armagh last day out. He had he kicked 2 outrageous scores, and then he slotted his penalties away so well. So I don't know, is this the game for him? I know we used to play in Dublin over the years. I think one game you 12 points against some league game. I think it was back a couple of years ago. Like, so, but I don't know. I don't think to start him, it might be risky. I just don't think, unfortunately, he doesn't have it in the legs anymore. Like, McManus, look, he could prove me wrong in that, absolutely. But I think it's an impact. So maybe if the game was in the melting pot. But then again, if Dublin are coasting home to victory and McManus didn't start, where you could have had a chance with him at the start from playing him, that's kind of a bit of a rock and hard place. But I just don't know about his fitness, Matthew. Like, I'm not sure if he's fully firing, you know.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, all right. And another player I wanted to, straight the spotlight on, in fairness to Conor McCarthy. He's number 7 in most games. He's wing back, and he's their third top scorer of the championship with 212, 211 for play, may I add. He's been instrumental in this run, like a goal and 2 points from play against Kildare, another 2 brilliant points against Armagh the last day as well. Is he up for an all-star this year? Because he's a marauding wing back. He's done excellent so far in the championship, and is he the guy that Dublin need to watch on Saturday?
Yeah, like, he's just been unbelievable this year, and like, I think that was such a genius move, getting him back to wing back, and that's a lot of, maybe the way the game's gone, Matthew. You're inside forward, like Conor McCarthy is. the ball's not coming in anymore. Them days are gone of just lamping the balls. It's backwards, it's sideways, it's all I suppose negative football these days. So I think that was a serious move to move Conor McCarthy back to wing back, because my God, he flourished so well. I know Micheál Bannigan's doing very well centre half forward there, but yeah, McCarthy probably, as you say, probably is in line for an all-star. My God, he's so quick, he's electric. And that's done him the world of good, because it's freed him up so much. He can get up and down the pitch, because McCarthy is quite small and maybe stature. I think a player of, like, I suppose his ability and so stature is kind of lost in the game at the minute. Like, as I keep saying, like this ball into the full forward or just these wee shafty balls, it's just not in the game at the minute. And Monaghan don't really kind of play that style of football. We've seen against Armagh, very negative. So no, it's been a serious move for him. And to be honest with you, if you're a nippy kind of corner forward, might not be the worst idea to revert back to being a wing back.
Might not be, no, but Conor McCarthy is doing excellent at wing back so far and definitely deserves a place in an all-star selection. And another guy that deserves an all-star selection will move on to Dublin now, Cullen Baskill. And he's a guy that, to be honest, Aaron has been raving about him over the last few years, Seamus to an extent as well, and the general Dublin public, especially those in Ballybold and St. Enda's, have been raving about this guy for years. He's now scored 5-15 from play in the championship and 2-2 against Mayo in the semi-final, where he was electric that day and gave Mayo all sorts of nightmares in Croke Park. So is he going to be a guy that Monaghan need to watch? Like, and then Conor O'Callaghan on top of that as well. If Kilkenny's in the team, and then you look at the other players, Sean Butler's done well in the championship, Paul Mannion, if he starts, like Dublin, well, Basket's been the shining light in this, but Dublin have some serious forwards still, despite their regression.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose, as me and you were kind of talking during the week, like the performance that they put in against Mayo was absolutely electric, so enjoyable to watch. And you have to be delighted for Basquel, like the way he's been moving in the last couple of games. Like, my God, against Mayo, he was so efficient. The goals he scored, the points, he's just so electric and he's so sharp. And it really is great to see him finally getting his chance and finally getting that starting jersey and being involved in the middle things, because Aaron and even Kevin McGurdy, my own podcaster, he was even kind of like ranting and raving about him the last couple of weeks. So it's great to see him getting the chance. He has the ability, he has that turn of pace. Very interesting. You brought up during the week. Does Paul Mannion start this week? That will be very interesting. Even the likes of Kieran Kilkenny. The time is Kieran Kilkenny. Jesus, he's still a decent age to keep playing. Quite enough season thus far for Kilkenny, but this could be the very game that he comes alive. And I think this game this weekend could very well suit him, because he kind of likes that kind of hold up play and that kind of slow kind of build up play, and then just few. So this could be the very game that Mr. Kieran Kilkenny comes alive. And so Dublin, yeah, blessed with talents. Even he was a Paddy Small came on last day. He's a fantastic player. Dean Rock came off the bench. Oh, look, they're absolutely littered with options if any game's in the melting pot. But this weekend, do you start Mannion All-Ireland semi-final? You probably do. I think Dublin will go quite strong. I think the team might be named tonight or tomorrow. The Kerry team was named tonight, but we'll get on to it in a few minutes. But look, Matthew, absolutely stacked. I wouldn't like to be Dessie Farrell picking that team this weekend, because my God, just blessed with talent once again. And yeah, the boys are back in town.
They are definitely. And another key stat as well from Dublin's run in the All-Ireland series. They've only conceded 2 goals in their run, and 2 of those goals came against Laois in the first game, where you might remember Dublin scored 4-20-30 in the game against Laois in Port Laois. But they haven't conceded. Yeah, that was a terrible game to watch, wasn't it, really? But the less said about that game, the better. But in fairness, like in the previous games that Dublin had, 2 of them against Kildare, the game against Roscommon, the game against Mayo, the game against Sligo, Dublin haven't conceded, and against Louth in the Leinster final, Dublin haven't conceded a goal. Do you think, like, will Monaghan test that stat to an extent on Saturday, or do you think they could threaten the Dublin goal? And let's not forget Stephen Cluxton back in goal this year. Is that maybe the reason that they're conceding less goals?
Yeah, like it's probably something so simple as that, getting Cluxton back in between the sticks, and we know, but probably the best goalkeeper we've ever seen play the game. And what a man, what a legend, fairness, and that could well literally be seeing Cluxton come back and sharing up the nets, but. I don't know, like, do Monaghan have that? Like, it could be, like, I keep ranting and raving about Micheál Bannigan, but I've been very, very impressed with him this summer. I think he's just so jinky. You nearly spot him anywhere. Like, he kind of gets up and down the pitch. You could spot him at corner forward, half back line, anywhere. Could he be a man to hit the back of the net? Conor McMahon, if he starts, could he be a man to rattle it in as well? So it will be very interesting. But it is, look, again, it is very hard to know where a goal could come from. Is it this weekend? Is it a game where Dublin just completely consolidate defence and just go out, run at Monaghan and just kind of get their own goals? But I don't know. I think that stat of, conceding, no goals since that Laois game could very well go on this weekend and potentially till the final. I just don't know. The Monaghan have the men. Like, you have maybe Darren Hughes running through the middle, some wee jinky move by Monaghan that they kind of catch the Dublin full back line off guard. But I think Monaghan probably will need a goal or two to get over the line this weekend, because, when Dublin get on top of you, it is a sight for sore eyes.
It is definitely, and I think they've scored very few goals in the championship, Monaghan, in fairness. And when you look at their stats against Armagh last day, like, their shot accuracy was 45%. If they repeat that against Dublin, could be corners early on. So, like, Monaghan need to shoot better in this game to win it, if they are to have any chance. But to be honest, it doesn't look likely.
And as well as that, Matthew, like, and we could talk about this, we can kind of talk about that, but the amount of points that they scored against Armagh, and I know Armagh is a very negative team to play against, but my God, that will not, as you said a couple of seconds ago, that will not get you over the line against Dublin. They simply didn't score enough the last year out, so that has to be a big problem this weekend, and hence why do you start Conor McManus this weekend? You probably do, because they're simply not scoring enough. They're just not getting a return, a bit of a bang for the buck. And as you're saying, 40% for their scoring average, that's not going to win you many games. What they scored the last year, does that win you an All-Ireland semi-final? I don't think so. That style of play. So, this weekend, they really, really will have to let the shackles off, because it's do or die stuff for a lot of these Monaghan lads, because most of them, well, some of them are definitely not getting any younger. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one on Saturday.
It is definitely, but we're both predicting a Dublin win. But question to you, John, by how many points?
Dublin by Dublin by, oh God, let me think. Go with Dublin 6. Yeah, Dublin by 6 or 7.
Yeah, I'd probably go around the same margin, maybe even 8. Like, I think Dublin are much better than Monaghan anyway, and it should be a bit of a procession. But the earlier comment said that that game, Dublin Monaghan, would be a tighter one than this one. We said this one would be tighter, the All-Ireland semi-final. This is the next day on the Sunday at 4 p.m. on RT2 and BBC2 Northern Ireland. Kerry against Derry. And what I was thinking during the week is, we're not going to have a good game either way, because if it's going to be tight, Derry are just going to camp inside their own half and make it as frustrating for Kerry as possible. If we're going to have a Kerry blowout, it's going to be over by half-time. It's going to be boring to watch in that sense. So it doesn't bode well, this game, really, when you look at it.
Unfortunately not, Matthew. Yeah, you probably hit the nail on the head there, and hence why there's probably still tickets going for this particular game. I hope to God I think Kerry have that bit more quality than Cork at the minute, but I hope to God it's not like the Derry and Cork game. Yeah, you can testify to that, but no, I hope, like, you could nearly think 2011 Dublin against Donegal, what Donegal done against Dublin that day. Hopefully it'll not be reminiscent of that, but you're just hoping for a good game of football. You're hoping that Derry kind of go after it, because I think if Derry set up the way they did against Cork the last day out, what was that Jim McGuinness was saying, like, it won us games of football, and that's why we kind of adapt to that style, because it's got us over the line in certain games. But I don't know, I think Kerry can really shoot from when they're on song. They can really score and shoot from anywhere. They have the players that can, obviously David Clifford, he can basically do anything with the football. So, Christy McCaig, who takes up Mr. Clifford will be very interesting. But I think when Kerry on song, realistically, them balls are going over from anywhere. So their style of play will be very interesting. Like the park, the bus is going to be long ridge shooting from Kerry. We'll have to wait and see. Like the likes of Sean O'Shea, when he's on form, it's the ball's going over from anywhere. Paddy Clifford can carry the ball so well. So, you're hoping for a good game of ball. Are we going to get it? I'm not sure. Look, as you said a couple of seconds ago, Derry is just going to park the bus and make it very negative and nearly having people leaving at half time. Hopefully not. But I just, and I suppose as you were Kev were saying on my podcast during the week, it's probably this is the very type of game we keep saying about Derry. Down the home stretch in the big stuff in the All-Ireland series, will they have enough forwards to get them over the line? And I think that's probably where the will fall. I think that's what everyone's been talking about, and I think that probably will come into fruition on Sunday in Croke Park, because I don't think Shane McGuigan's going to be able to do it by himself. Maybe, but he could prove us wrong. But you need 2 to 3 good forwards to win All Ireland, as we've seen in recent years.
And the thing is with McGuigan, I know he's the top scorer of the whole championship, fair play to 246, and he's by far the most influential forward of the Derry team. But he scored nothing for play against Cork. Tommy Walsh really did him excellently in that quarter-final. And you just imagine if Thomas Sullivan goes on him, if Jason Foley goes on him. Like Jason Foley went on Tyrone, I think it was Darren McCurry in the quarter-final, and he did an absolutely excellent job. Like Kerry won 24 turnovers to Tyrone's 14 in that All-Ireland quarter-final. So, like, if McGuigan scores nothing for play against Cork, if he produces the same performance as he did in the All-Ireland quarter-final, Kerry are going to have a field there.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and that's kind of why I'm thinking. Like, and I watched the Kerry full back line. I think everyone did very, very close against Tyrone the last day out. And I think a lot of credit has to go to Paddy Tally, like the way he had them set up. Because in fairness, the Kerry full back line, they were first to every single ball that was going into the Tyrone forward. So I don't think Derry have the same quality of forwards as Tyrone do or did. So that's, I think, where Derry will come short this weekend. The firepower, I just don't think I think the Kerry full back line, I think they might have that bit of an easier day out than they did the last day, because they're so well set up against Tyrone. They had Tyrone's number, and I think that's where Derry will fall short this weekend. And that's probably why you can just see a Kerry victory, because, as I said, McGuigan, he has been unbelievable this year. All credit to him, but what's that saying? You have to get by with you have to get by with a little help from your friends, and I think McGuigan will lead 2 or 3 this weekend.
He will definitely. And what I was thinking as well, like we talked about Derry, you talked about Derry and Tyrone's attack there, or comparison there. And what Derry actually are notorious for doing is pushing all their 15 men up in attack, including the goalkeeper, Rory Lynch. And they did it at the All-Ireland semi-final against Galway last year. And what I was thinking in my head then, what if they get caught? And Kerry did the exact same thing against Tyrone. They turned the ball over, passed it to Clifford. Clifford produces an unbelievable pass into Paddy Clifford, and that's been reverberated around social media. I'm sure everybody has seen it already. I think it was into Tony Brosnan, actually. Tony Brosnan then gets the ball, passes it into Sean O'Shea back of the net. So is there the danger that Kerry, once they get the ball, they'll speed up the field, and Derry could be massively caught?
Yeah, no, like definitely, and I know Derry are a very, very fit team, and I know like they support the runner so effectively and get up the pitch in numbers and packs, but that's probably the problem. I think if Derry are going forward and like the lack of forwards in there, and I suppose scoring forwards, and they're kind of caught, or as you say, Kerry get them on the kind of counter attack, that's probably where alarm bells will start ringing, because as you were saying, Jason Foley, he can get forward no problem. And obviously, when you have David Clifford, Paulie Clifford, Sean O'Shea to get the ball to even Paul Geaney moved very well the last day against Tyrone. When you have them boys to kind of get the ball to Matthew, that's probably where the alarm bells will start ringing for Derry. So they could be caught in the hop, and that's probably where Derry will probably fall short this weekend. The lack of options inside. So yeah, on the counter attack, that could definitely be a problem. And I know, obviously, Rory Gallagher, unfortunately, he had to step away from the Derry team, and he probably would have a few tricks up his sleeve for this Kerry outfit on Sunday. But obviously, Kieran Meena will have to plan accordingly for it. But yeah, I think it's a Kerry win.
Yeah, it's hard to see past Kerry in any general sense. But what I will say, we both say Kerry win, maybe by about 3 or 4 points or something like that. But what I will say about Kerry in general, their defenders, we always criticise their defenders on podcasts, and I criticised them on the podcast with Aaron, and that clip has been reverberating around social media, especially from Kerry fan pages, ridiculing me and Aaron's prediction, saying that such famous last words. But during that game, I was thinking after that podcast clip and doing the stats and all this for the Derry game. In the championship, Kerry have conceded 1 goal in all the games of the championship, and that was Owen McLaughlin's against Mayo. Albeit they conceded a lot of goal chances that day. But other than the Mayo game, Kerry have been probably one of the soundest teams defensively this season. So do you think the Kerry defence actually get enough credit in general this season, or like have they just not faced some brilliant opposition as let's say a Mayo or Dublin in recent weeks?
Yeah, like, and I think a lot of this probably has to go down to Paddy Tally. I know, obviously, like last year, at times they might have been afraid, but it just seems that they have their ship in order this year. And like we've seen the last year's Throne game probably is the best example you could use. They just defended so stoutly. They were before every ball. They worked so well as a team. So as you say, they probably haven't got enough credit. And in recent years, the Kerry defence has been absolutely slated, basically ripped apart. So I think they really, really have shored up the defence. And it's a full credit to them, because obviously they're fully buying into Mr. Tally's coaching expertise, and it's paying dividends for them, because look what they've done the last year, even in the last few games. So I think they probably haven't got enough credit, and they deserve the credit, because my God, they've got ripped apart in recent years, and everyone always said that was I suppose their Achilles heel. And I suppose the worrying thing from a lot of other counties, their defense is their attack is red hot. Midfield's kind of the midfield. John McMahon had a great game the last day out. Their defense is really kind of shored up. So Kerry look like the full package at the minute, Mr. Hurley.
They do at the moment, and unfortunately, like, they look on a good road to win the All Ireland in general. But I said this to Aaron, and I'll probably say it again. If Kerry reached the All Ireland final and Dublin reached the All Ireland final, I'll probably get on the O'Neill's website and get myself a Dublin jersey or something like that. So yeah, be but like, in general, like, the All Ireland final, I know we're dismissing Monaghan and Derry here and saying they won't reach it, but to be honest, it's probably obvious that they won't.
I'd be amazed.
But who are you predicting at this early? I know it's an early stage, but Dublin or Kerry to win the All Ireland?
Oh, that is the $1 million question, my man. That is the $1 million question. Like, whose want and need is greater? Obviously, Kerry winning it last year, is the desire to win it this year. Of course it is. Obviously, Mr. Jack O'Connor is there this year, so he'll know all about trying to do the back-to-back. Did Dublin kind of come back, prove their, I suppose, their haters, whatever you're having yourself wrong. Obviously Jack McCaffrey back, Paul Mannion back, Steve Cluxton back. So I suppose if they're not the special ingredients to go on and win Sam this year, it'll be very, very interesting. It's, oh my God, it's probably one of the toughest questions. I think, obviously, like, it's not a stupid answer, but I think after this weekend, we probably will know so much more about both teams, about, I suppose, where they're at. But I might just go Dublin just about. Yeah,
I'd probably go Dublin as well, but maybe that's more of hope than expectation. But we'll have to see in the next few weeks who will get their hands on the Sam McGuire in general. But we'll move on to the Tailteann Cup final. And I think both of us and all podcasters are just praying that Down and Meath produce a good game here, because I don't think the semi-finals in the All-Ireland or the Sam McGuire competition will be that good, but it is Down and Meath Tailteann Cup final at 3 o'clock on Saturday live on RT2, and it's an intriguing game. This, like, Meath have usually had goals to keep them in games. Down scored 8 in the semi-final against Laois in a masterful performance at Croke Park, so this has the probably potential for a goal fest and hopefully an entertaining game.
Yeah, really looking forward to that game this weekend. And obviously the other two games kind of have really took up so much attention. And the Tailteann Cup final, I think, will be a very, very, very good advertisement for the Tailteann Cup final. And obviously, I know I said it during the week, unfortunately, Cavan couldn't reach the final day, but sure, that's another day's conversation. But no, look, we're looking forward to that game this weekend. I don't think there'll be any mass defences. I can't see the ball. As you said, it could be goals galore in this game. I think you could be very well right. It's going to be a very, very tight game. Two counties that have unbelievable serious football tradition. The men in place, even like Conor Lafferty, down through and through, Colin O'Rourke, obviously Sean Boyle in the backroom team. So there's a lot of obviously good history kind of going into this game and good people involved. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. Even to call a winner, it's very, very hard to call at this stage. Are we looking at maybe extra time in this particular game? Like, will it go down to the wire? A good lot of pressure. I'd say there's nearly a bit more pressure. Obviously, pressure every game and every day you go out, but I think there's a bit of more pressure on Meath, because obviously Meath go down to the Tailteann Cup football in Proud County, like I suppose Cavan or any other counties in the Tailteann Cup. But I think they will be mad to get out of it and get back into the proper stuff. Make no doubt about it. But yeah, like, down the last day, 8 goals in a game of football against a very, I suppose, a Laois team who were, I suppose, got a lot of stage fright maybe that day, but 8 goals. There will be goals in this particular game, but there will be repeated, and I'm not too sure. But I just think Conor Lafferty, his experience alone in these sort of big games, obviously Conor Rourke can't rule him out, but still a good few Kilcoo men involved in that down team. Oh, that kind of sort of winning mentality, know how in these sort of games, but we're definitely looking forward to it this weekend, and it's one you can genuinely look forward to, because I think with Dublin and Monaghan, there's probably that bit of inevitability about it. Derry, Kerry could be absolutely very, very negative, a very boring game to watch unless David Clifford just, does David Clifford on it. And that game might not be watching to a degree, but this game, we can kind of hang our hat on it being exciting.
Hopefully so in general, because as you mentioned with the 2 other semi-finals, there isn't much riding on them. But comment coming in here from a famous Meath fan of the channel, Meath Band, saying tickets sold out in 2 hours for the game. Crazy having it on the same day as Dublin Monaghan. Like, what do you think about that? Should the Tailteann Cup final been on the same day as Derry and Kerry, because there's less tickets there? What do you think about that? Like, it might be something small, but what do you think?
Yeah, and to be fair, I know how much the GA love money. I'm surprised they didn't try to get the Tailteann Cup final tomorrow night in Croke Park for the amount for sure how much revenue the low. I'm amazed they didn't do a separate day altogether. Never mind having a double header. But I suppose it just kind of reverts back to what the GA are like, and their scheduling and everything that goes with that. They can normally make a mess of most things to do. So didn't give it a whole pile of thought, but as you say, there is still tickets going for the game on Sunday. Could you have placed it with the game on Sunday with Kerry supporters obviously just holding fire until the final, which you always seem to do. So they probably could have put it with the Kerry and Derry game, because there seems to be serious demand for the Dublin and Monaghan game. So look, they probably have got it wrong, no surprise. But it's the same old story, Matthew, isn't it? Really,
it is really. And actually, the junior final between Kilkenny against London, New York, or whatever. I actually don't have much knowledge in the Kilkenny footballers. I'm sorry for any Cats fans there, but that game is supposed to be before the Derry and Kerry game instead. Like, could that have been before Dublin and Monaghan? Because Dublin would have more tickets bought or anything like that. Like, even Aaron, I'm speaking to him, he doesn't even have a ticket for the Hill, or he had to get a ticket for the Cusack. So tickets are always going to be sold out, and put it the Tailteann Cup final before that, and that's going to be a hotly anticipated game between 2 proud football counties. Like, it's a bit of an own goal by the GA as far as I'm concerned.
Well, shock match, I suppose. The grass is green, the sky is blue, I suppose, at this stage with the GA. But you probably could have. And I suppose now it's only until they realise, Express the GA aren't going to pull up tonight, that they're going to just change the game after all these, I suppose, spare tickets going around. But they probably could have put the junior final on the Saturday and then the Tailteann Cup final on the Sunday. But obviously too late in the day to change that, the way the thing is at the minute. But I suppose it's just the demand for tickets, because oh my god, I think Saturday it seems to be very, very, very sought after, and then there is obviously still tickets floating for Sunday. But I just think Sunday might not serve up the spectacle that everyone maybe is taking and hoping for. But it is poor stuff, and Saturday I know obviously the razzmatazz Dublin fans bring. Maybe that's what the GA are thinking. The supporters, you'll have Monaghan fans, you'll have Dublin fans, Down fans, Meath fans. So maybe the razzmatazz, the buzz, the excitement, and that's probably why they went with it, instead of having Kerry fans who might not travel, and then maybe Derry fans who potentially might not travel as well. So I think from maybe a bit of a spectator, a bit of a buzz about the place, full house, that's probably why the GA done it. But look, to line their pockets, I'm amazed the GA aren't having that game tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm amazed as well. And it's kind of a thing where the GA just don't use common sense in many ways, in all aspects really this season. But we'll move on to the game in general, because these 2 counties definitely deserve recognition. You look at Meath, first of all, their scores in the competition. And Jordan Morris has been on fire in this competition. We knew he was good, but we didn't know he was this good. 319 overall, and that's 217 from play. Matthew Costa has been brilliant as well, as is Aaron Lynch, the youngster as well for Meath. So they've good youngsters coming through. Conor Rourke, after a rocky start, let's just say, he seemed to be, gaining the ground with this meeting.
Absolutely, Matthew. And I suppose, obviously, to touch on Jordan Morris there, as I said on my own podcast before, he's playing his club football in Cavan here for a club team called Kingskirt. And my club was playing him back in, I think it was in April or May there, but I think at that stage he wasn't with the Meath team. So I think he's actually only recently rejoined the Meath team in recent months. I think there's a bit of a disagreement with Colin O'Rourke, but obviously the boys have got the ban or got the show on the road again. But he was actually, he was literally just playing for his club up till a couple of months ago. So he's only back, and my God, he's shooting lights out. He's flying. No surprise, he's potentially one of the best young forwards in Ireland at the minute. He's very, very exciting player to watch. And he's a great addition to Cavan Club football, make no doubt about it. But yeah, I think Meath football, to get rejuvenated again, to get that bit of support, get that bit of morale going again, I actually think the Tailteann Cup has done them the world of good. Not where they want to be, but from a spectator point of view, maybe getting the fans back on board, the potential of silverware in Croke Park, lift the trophy, bring home the trophy, and just get a bit of a buzz going for the supporters again. I think that will do Meath and everyone, the whole of Meath football, the world of good this weekend if they are to get their hands on the Tailteann Cup. And I think it's just what Colin O'Rourke will need, because obviously we've seen O'Rourke has been very, very open and honest in his interview, saying that it's not an overnight project. This project could take 3 to 4 years, and I suppose you kind of have to love O'Rourke's honesty at times. He doesn't kind of beat around the bush, but yeah, I think a win for me this weekend, it will just literally be what the doctor has ordered, because no silverware since 2010, and don't mention that war.
No, don't at all. No, as Basil Fawlty would say, just don't mention the war. Don't. Yeah, I'd be thinking, when was their last legitimate title meet? I think 2001 or something like that. But,
have they won a National League since that? No.
National, I think they were the final against Monaghan one year. They lost that. So
2013.
2013, I think it was, the same year Monaghan
got better than that. Monaghan won. Yeah. So nothing since that match for very, very much like Cavan here, like a very, very, very proud footballing county, and Meath football, like my God, they let you know about how good they're at football. There is a bit of a rivalry with us and them, make no doubt about it. We see Anthony Moyles off the ball most mornings. Very proud footballer man. So yeah, I think they'll be mad to get their hands on silverware this weekend. And will it be this weekend against a fairly informed down team that's riding the crest of a wave? Oh, look, it's an intriguing game. It's an intriguing game.
It is definitely. And before we get on to Down, I wanted to tell about Anthony Moyles as well. Like, a lot of people don't like him on off the ball, but I think he's a respectable guy. He knows his football inside and out. I think he's an excellent pundit in his own right. And Colin O'Rourke as well. I think Kev mentioned it on your podcast earlier on the year. He's a smart manager, and me need to stick by him. And maybe a Tailteann Cup win will boost the morale of that Meath team with Colin O'Rourke and the fans and etc. like that. But for Down, 17 goals this season across Ulster Championship and the Tailteann Cup. 15 goals in the Tailteann Cup alone.
Crazy.
Down are a goal-scoring team. There's no doubts about that. When you look at it, Pat Averin's done well with 240. And then you have the goal scorers in Liam Kerr, Danny McGill, and Owen Murdoch, who all have 4 goals each for them. Like Owen Murdoch's a midfielder who's coming to the team. Down have goal scorers in the team, and it's not that Meath are pretty like Meath are a good side. But you look at Down's scoring rate, their goal scoring rate. But at the same time, this was a Down team that lost to Meath earlier on the Tailteann Cup by 2 points. But having said that as well, Down at 17 wides that day in Parnell Park. So it's an interesting encounter, but Down are motoring well.
Oh, they definitely are, and I suppose Down football, no better man to steer the ship than Conor Lafferty. We know his passion and drive for kind of Down football, and obviously we've seen the success that he's had with the Kilcoo lads on and off the field. So, look, they are absolutely fine at the minute. In fairness, they were a joy to behold against Laois the last year. I know obviously they knocked us out of the quarter-final stage and probably taught us a bit of a lesson in Breffni Park, unfortunately, that day. They're just, I think I said this in the podcast a few weeks ago, but the way they move the ball, they support each other in numbers, they're just so fit. They're just lightning quick. Like, I don't know, geez, if you're playing them, you'd just be exhausted. Even you're nearly exhausted watching them. So they are absolutely fine at the minute. It's a lot of probably credit does have to go down to, I suppose, Mr. Down Football, Conor Lafferty, for a lot of this. And their goal scoring return there is absolutely like 17 goals in one season. Like, that is absolutely incredible. And I think we probably will see a few this weekend, because I'm just not sure about the Meath defence. I think Down could nip in. Like, I think if Down, 8 goals, I can't see maybe that happened this weekend, but like if Down are to root in a couple of these goals and get on the front foot very early, it could very well go Down's way, because if they have a repeat of what they've done maybe in the quarter final, and the last year I think even that Cavan game stood down very much because that was a huge win for them. Obviously, Cavan were fairly hotly tipped, and obviously the Laois game, I suppose the dispatched them very easily. But it's a real flip of a coin this weekend.
It is definitely, and actually summed it up brilliantly in the comment here, down to the pair team, but Meath could easily win as well. It'll be a great game of attacking football nonetheless. And what we're saying as well, we're expecting a very, very good game. Down are probably the favourites for this. I will say I'll probably go for Down win as well by a point or two, possibly. But this could go either way. This is a very, very interesting game, and it's a tough one to call ultimately. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, 100%. Like, you could really... you could do James O'Donoghue and go all draws this weekend. I'm not sure Dublin Monaghan. I think it's fairly straightforward. But Dublin, Kerry, Derry, you might get a draw there potentially. But this game this weekend, really, you could make a serious case for both teams. Whose want is more? Whose need is greater? Do Meath need to kind of win it, get back on? I suppose get back to where they belong. Conor Lafferty, would he be happy with another year in the Tailteann Cup next year to keep building the Down project? Oh, it's hard to know. Like, it really is hard to know. But I don't know. Like, it's it's one of these where, like, God, you could be here all night nearly thinking about it. But I don't know. Colin O'Rourke and Croke Park, Sean Boylan factor. Oh, might just go Meath to sneak it.
Yeah, exactly. And bit of banter here from the Meath man there. So it should be a very, very good game in general between Meath and Down this weekend. Definitely looking forward to it. I'm sure so is John. But before we end the podcast, we'll look at the ladies football. There's another comment coming in here. Down and Meath could be the best game of the weekend. I definitely agree.
So will be hands down. Yeah, hands down. Make no doubt about it. Like, you nearly know it's going to be attacking. You like, unless Down want to set up defensively, hopefully they're not. Hopefully Down can play the way they played the last one. Geez, definitely against Laois, because oh my God, like all them goals going in, it's crazy to keep up with it. But yeah, I think, John, you're absolutely correct. This will be the best game of the weekend. I would be very sure of it.
Exactly so, and it's a very, very interesting game to call. Not like the two games, but we'll see who comes out on top to win the second ever Tailteann Cup, and it should be very, very interesting to see who does that. And we'll move on to, finally, before we end the podcast, a few of the ladies football quarterfinals as we reach the end of that championship. Galway against Mayo, first of all, at 1:30 on Saturday at TG Carr. This game is in Galway. I'm not sure where in Galway, Tuam or Pierce Stadium, so it should be very interesting in nonetheless, because both these sides played the Connacht final. Mayo won that, but Galway topped their group in the LGFA group. They beat Cork and they beat Tipperary. Mayo lost to Armagh after a last minute penalty from Amy Mackin during their group, but beat Laois the last day in Castlebar. Galway, their top scorer so far is Kate Slevin with 3 goals and 6 points. You also have Tracy Naird with 1 goal and 6, Ailva Davern with 2 goals and 2. So Galway look good in that department. But for Mayo, it's really the two Sineads that are doing well so far. 2-8 for Sinead Cafferty and 2-6 for Sinead Walsh, and all those from play. So it should be a very interesting game, considering they're Connacht rivals. And we talked about the Connacht rivalry in the men's game, but it's definitely as fierce in the women's game too.
Oh no, it absolutely is. Like, I suppose a game like this, you'll 100% be keeping an eye on. And I suppose these are the games that we kind of talk about, Matthew. Like, I know me and you were kind of giving a bit of a dig out tonight, but like, from an exposure point of view, from a PR point of view, we really should be kind of driving this game home and getting as many people watching as possible. Like, I know obviously the 3 men's game will take up a lot of attention this weekend, but that's a game I think everyone should have eyes on this weekend. Keep an eye on them, because I think it should be a great advertisement for ladies football. And I think, the more exposure these sort of games can get, because look, the ladies deserve much credit as the men, make no doubt about it.
Yeah, exactly. So it should be a very, very interesting game indeed. But I'd predict probably a Galway slight win in this game. Well, what are you saying? Do you think Galway will beat them, or do you think Mayo will do it like they did in the men's?
Oh, I'll go Mayo. Yeah. Go with them, Mayo, yeah.
Should be a very interesting game. Another comment about the Down and Meath game. There seems to be a lot of comments about the Down and Meath game tonight, but Down.
Yeah, the game to look forward to. Yeah.
Yeah, it is definitely a game to look forward to, and I can see why everybody's actually so pumped up for the games in general between Down and Meath, but it should be a very, very interesting game. And we'll move on to another ladies football quarterfinal. And these ladies football quarterfinals, all of them could go either way, which is probably the most intriguing thing about it. And they're all live at TG Carroll this weekend, as is this one, Armagh against Cork in the box at Athletic Grounds at 3:30 p.m. Armagh topped their group, obviously beating Mayo with a last minute penalty from the great Amy Mackin, and probably the best game in the ladies player of the ladies football game at the moment. And they beat Laois as well in the group stage. And after an Ulster final loss to Donegal earlier on the season, Cork won the Munster Championship by beating Kerry, scoring 4 goals in that game or so, which was an incredible achievement by Shane Vernon's team. They fell off the wagon a bit by losing to Galway, but went back up by hammering Tipperary down in Ahamilla as well. So very good achievement for them. But Cork have some very good players. They have scores all over the field. When you look at Katie Quirk, when you look at Eber Kiley, they've done well. But Armagh have that one woman in their team that can make a difference in Amy Mackin. And both of these sides didn't reach the All-Ireland semi-final last year. So it's an intriguing game and probably a crucial game for both sides.
Oh yeah, no, like, you know, make no doubt about it. We know about Amy Mackin. Like, my God, she is just a sensational kind of player, and kind of reminiscent, probably the ladies' version of the likes of, like, I'm looking at Oisin McConville's book here right in front of me, probably very reminiscent of the likes of Oisin McConville or Rona Clark, a really star-studded forward for Armagh. So, you know, that's again a really good game to look forward to. You know, but the problem is, Matthew keeps reverting back to it. Are these games getting enough exposure by the general media outlets? I'm not too sure. And I just think there's a bit of a gap in the market to really push these games home.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it should be a very interesting game in general. She scored 425 in all, Amy Mackin, so that's a brilliant achievement by her. Darren O'Sullivan is Cork star, 130, 3-9 for Emer Kiley. Like, I don't want to be biased in all this, but I'm going to go for a Cork win. I just think there's more players in there than just one. Like Armagh have won and Amy Mackin. To be fair, Aoife McCoy is a good player as well, so is Amy's sister Blaine. But would you say a Cork win, or do you think Armagh will make home advantage count?
Oh, lordy. I'll go with the Rebels. I'll go with Cork. Yeah, I think Cork will have too much.
Yeah, it should be a very interesting game. And speaking of interesting games, it's a repeat of the All-Ireland final in the quarter-final stage. Kerry against Meath, 7:30 on TG Carroll, and this is on Austin Star Park release, so Kerry definitely have the advantage in this. They beat Dublin earlier on the year. They won the league title, Kerry as well. Meath seemed to fall off the wagon a small bit. They left their manager going, Davy Nelson. Obviously, they have a new manager in. No, as of now, Meath, I forget her name off the top of my head now, but they still have the likes of Vicky Wall there, Emma Duggan, they are the All-Ireland champions. They still have very good players, but you look at Kerry, home advantage. Louise Niver-Hurting and Schaefer O'Shea up there for Kerry. I think Adam Boyne had put up a stat during the week. They've scored like 12 goals or more between them in league and championship, which is an incredible record. So, like, Kerry could be on the road for a double in men's and women's. And I don't want that to happen, John, but it could happen.
It could well be, my man, and thy kingdom come. But I gave another game to look forward to this weekend, and fair play to TG. I had to say TG Carroll's coverage of these games and all year round is absolutely exceptional, between league football, between club football, between college football. TG Carroll, special shout out to them. They are doing unbelievable work, and fair play to them again this weekend. Yeah, it's an interesting note, obviously. Vicky Wall back playing football for me. Obviously, she's applied her trade over in the AFL at the minute. She's just an unbelievable talent. I know obviously Eamon Murray has the Cavan obviously departed the Meath scene in the last year, so he had an unbelievable influence on that Meath team, and no doubt they're probably still ringing him and giving him WhatsApps looking for tips. He just left such a mark. Kerry, unbelievable kind of football tradition. Obviously, you were saying can they do back to back. Obviously, you probably have nightmares about that, but I might go with Meath.
Interesting prediction there. I'll probably go Kerry myself, but okay. I hope you're right. And I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see if that prediction comes to fruition. And the final ladies football quarter-final of the weekend is another interesting one. Donegal against Dublin. Obviously, They're all interesting, but this is interesting as well at 2:00 on Sunday. This is right before the Derry and Kerry game, so this might be more exciting than the Derry and Kerry game in general because of the fact Donegal actually beat at this stage last season. So, like, Donegal will be focusing on getting a second win in a row against Dublin in the quarterfinal stage. Donegal topped their group after winning the Ulster Championship. They had a poor league where they got relegated to Division 2, but Niamh McLaughlin has had a very good championship so far. Jordy McLaughlin's a very good player for Donegal indeed. You obviously have Carla Rowe for Dublin, who's doing wonders. Obviously, Hannah Tyrrell's another good player. Actually, Niamh Hagerty for Donegal scored 2-9 in the championship so far, so very good from her. Karen Guthrie's done well, so is Suzanne White. So Donegal are kind of like a team of Derry, like Derry in the men's game, and kind of park players behind the ball. So can they frustrate Dublin, the life out of Dublin, and get to another All-Ireland semi-final?
Yeah, like, geez, it's good to hear that Donegal are even stinking the place out when it comes to ladies football. Just that's not too encouraging to hear. But no, I think this game this weekend, I think, yeah, like a lot of these games, like they go down to the absolute wire, especially on Sunday. Like again, like serious credit to TG Carr showing this game once again. But I think Donegal, as you say, if they park the bus, get people, but I suppose get ladies behind the ball, for want of a better phrase, I think we could be looking at Donegal getting over the line here.
Another interesting prediction by Mr. McMahon there. Donegal to get a second win against Dublin in a row after beating them last year. But no, I just think Dublin will have enough. I really think so. So it should be very, very interesting quarterfinals this weekend. And before we end the podcast, let us know about your podcast, John, the JMac Podcast. Obviously, I'm a pundit on that. Delighted to do so this year. So tell us a bit more about your podcast. Obviously, other than good pundits, not just myself. I don't want to give myself too much credit, but in fairness, Kevin McGorty, very good. Aaron Prendergast, obviously, from Gaelic Games Fan TV. You've Johnny Murta, the great Daniel Goulin, Cork legend, on there as well, the great Conor Mortimer. So some brilliant pundits and some brilliant crack in general on your podcast.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Look, I suppose, yeah, like, you know yourself, Matthew, the work that kind of goes into these things, and geez, look, you've been an unbelievable addition this year to the podcast, and obviously the lads love having you. Your stats are just second to none, so you've been a breath of fresh air this year. So yeah, like at the minute, like you can get me on YouTube, obviously at the JMac Podcast. You can get me on Twitter at the JMac Podcast. You can get me on Facebook, the JMac Podcast. So obviously very very original names, but thankfully the G haven't the misfortune of yourself having to change your name, so they haven't gone after me, touch wood. But really enjoying it. It's been a great summer so far. Obviously the crack and the banter, all the camaraderie, that's what the GA is all about, Matthew. Just chatting to lads, meeting people maybe for the first time, mingling with lads, sharing ideas, sharing GA stories. Obviously your great views, your great stats, hearing from the likes of Conor Mortimer, the likes of Daniel Goulding, Johnny Murta, Kev, Finian Hanley, Aaron. Might as well give everyone a bit of a mention here. Who else do we have there? Am I missing anyone? Who do we normally have? Do we have anyone else? Just David Byrne, obviously the great David Byrne. God, if he's watching this, Davey, sorry, it's that time of night, but everyone just chips in so well. I love it, Matthew. And obviously, as I said, Facebook, the JMac Podcast, YouTube, the JMac Podcast, Twitter, the JMac Podcast. I'd love to hear from you. And Matthew, thanks very much for having me on.
Yeah, thanks very much, John, in fairness. But John asked me, are you supposed to be impartial, Matthew, when talking about Kerry?
No chance.
No chance. John's not impartial when he talks about Monaghan and things like that, so, but that's in fairness, and you see Aaron with Leeds on, so, it's just... You're
following my lead.
Yeah, it's a bit of banter.
Yeah, bit of banter. I wouldn't worry about it. Wouldn't worry about it. It's a free country, Matt. You can say what you like. You can say what you like until someone comes knocking on your door.
Exactly so. And if Kerry win the All-Ireland, they'll probably rope in my face. And look, that's just the way it is. But we'll see. We'll wrap up the podcast right there. Is probably the right time to wrap it up.
Last shout. Last shout before I go, if anyone's putting a few pound on this weekend and they want a few beer tokens and they're throwing a $5 or a $10 at these bets, and obviously bet responsibly, of course, I will go. I know I gave my predictions, but I've got clear of head Dublin, Kerry and Derry draw, and Meath to nick it. So I don't know how much money's in that. I don't know what the value is, but bet responsibly and bet safe, and there we go.
Exactly. Great way to end the podcast there on Bet of the Week. But we will wrap up the podcast there. Thanks for everybody that tuned in tonight. And thanks for everybody that tuned in the pre-recorded version as well on Spotify, YouTube, and all podcasting platforms. Obviously, give the video a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow the Gaelic Statsman on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all them social media platforms, and of course follow John the JMac Podcast on Twitter and Spot and YouTube and all podcasting platforms as well. So thanks, John, for coming on to the podcast today, and hopefully Cavan get a good new manager in the next coming weeks, and hopefully Cavan will have a good season.
I'll throw my name forward. Matthew, pleasure. Have a great weekend.